Trump's day in court paints a darker preview of the national ordeal ahead. The judge in Donald Trump's civil fraud trial desperately pressed the ex-president lawyer. I beseech you to control him if you can't. Judge Other Angeron's plea reflected his frustration at the incorrigible witness who boasted Monday about his piles of cash aimed at getting political attacks and spouted uniquely illogical logic. But Goron, who is presiding over the New York trial, also put his finger on the deeper question that will define singular political figures' place in history. As the answer, as always, was no, Trump cannot be controlled. No mere lawyer could impose the kinds of discipline that 2.5 centuries of the constitutional checks and balances could not provide during Trump's time in office or since. And after threatening to dismiss the ex-president from the witness stand, Engoron opted to let the Trump stone rage in the apparent hope that it would blow itself out, though history was shown it never does. Trump's combative defense against the claims he inflated his wealth to rip off bank, insurance firms, and New York State served as the troubling preview of the 2024 election season that is likely to become ensnared with his massive legal peril. But it also revealed the insight into Trump's relentless with his relentless refusal to give an inch to his enemies and showed white voters who despise East Coast authority figures and rival societal cause adore him. His testimony offered warnings to lawyers who will seek to puncture his self-created bubble of the alternative realities with facts and evidence, and showed how he might try to charm and confuse jurors in his coming criminal trials. As he climbed into the witness box and lifted his hand and swore to tell the truth, an almost ironic act given his record of falsehoods. Trump arbitrate yet another convention. Ex-presidents in America don't typically get the calls to explain their actions in court, and Monday's 4-hour dive into the Trump organization's financial record was just a warm-up for subsequent criminal courtroom dramas that could mean the Republican Party will nominate the convicted felon for president. Trump denies the wrongdoing in each and every case against him. Trump shows what he will do to save himself. Trump in a blue shirt, tie and shirt suit, tie and shirt instead of his campaign livery of dark suit, white shirt, and improbably long red tie, left no doubt that if tearing down legal and political systems is what it will take to save him, he won't hesitate. It is election interference because you want to keep me in this courthouse all day long, Trump told the prosecutors. Working for New York Attorney General Letitia James, accusing her of trying to base a run for governor on an attempt to destroy his business. As he often does, the ex-president was turning facts upside down. It is he who is politicizing the justice system in his own bid for the return to power. And before he faces judgment, Trump is seeking to discredit the organs of accountability that will seal his fate. It is an extremely hostile judge, Trump added, raising his hand to point at El Goron, who sat beside and just above the witness box on the bench. The ex-president's stay was the microcosm of the riotous life as a real estate magnate. New York City icon, showbiz reality star, and demagogic demagogic political candidate and the US president. He obstructed, exaggerated, spouted insert, bracely trampled the courtroom protocol and substituted the partisan narratives for the yes and no answers that the judge demanded. Yet Trump also expertly uses the outage stream of consciousness and linguistic dexterity that turns his interrogators in the law or the media in not. There were even flashes of humor hinting at one of the key ingredients of the political method that has seduced millions of Americans, asked for instance whether he had built houses on the Golf Coast in Scotland. Trump conceded that he had not, but added was peacefully, I have a castle, and there were oodles of quintessential essential Trump's promotion. He boasted that his Florida Mar-a-Lago resort was a very successful club, said he'd built and the best building on the West Coast, and claimed dubiously that his 18 holes in of Aberdeen was the greatest golf course ever built. At one point, Trump mused, I've had a lot of cash for a long time. Trump's supporters could not watch him since the trial was not televised, but they would have recognized the bulldozer on the witness stand and blow it all up persona that made twice impeached, 4 times indicted ex-president who left Washington in disgrace nearly 3 years ago against the Republican front-runner. It became clear long before Trump left the court complaining of the scam that his legal strategy was indistinguishable from his familiar political one. Admit nothing and brand any criticism as proof of the vast, unfair plot against him. The goal was transparent, leverage the latest bid to call him to account into a campaign fueled by the martial conflicts that can win back presidential powers to drive away his legal woes. People are sick and tired of what's happening. I think it's a very sad day for America, Trump said at the end, before noting the New York Times post showing him leading President Joe Biden in key swing states, a tactic his lawyer Chris Kiss also used to imply the soon-to-be next president wasn't being shown sufficient respect. Trump's dignity is ruffled. Yet Monday was also a rude awakening for Trump. Retired commanders-in-chief are usually surrounded by the false field of deterrence, with their Secret Service detachment and the forever title of Mr. President. Trump has long pauses as the alpha male and his entire business and political creed, in person and on social media, is based on intimidation. But it must have been a long time since anyone had shushed Trump like Elgoron, cutting him up ahead of another minder by saying, no, no, you answered the question. There was no Mr. President from the Attorney General's lawyers or the judge. The witness was simply Mr. Trump. He sat on the little chair alone in the wood-paneled witness box, his hands clasped in his lap. But the trial quickly became the test of wills between Trump and Al Gore over who controlled the court. After one trip by Trump down the rabbit hole, the judge asked the lawyers if they had asked for the essay on brand value. Frustrated with the partition aside, Al Gore warned that this is not a political rally, this is the courtroom, and the judge bristled at the ex-president's complaint that he always ruled against him. Adopting a tone typical of Trump, subordinate, Kiss argued with the judge's admonitions against speeches and lauded the ex-president's brilliant replies. Later, the judge, perhaps trying to avoid offering grace for the potential appeal, said he'd let the ex-president ramble. But by the end of the day, Al Gore's resolve prayed. It feels like a broken record, he said of prompt answers. The ex-president snapped back. He keeps asking me the same question over and over. Al Gore will, however, get the last word. He has already ruled that Trump, his two adult sons, and Trump organization are reliable for fraud in inflating his wealth in return for advantageous deals with banks and insurance firms. The trial will resolve related claims and decide how much restitution is due and whether he would be barred from doing business in New York. How Trump defended himself. It was hard to tell whether Trump had helped or hurt himself. He did appear to disrupt the smooth running of the trial, but as he complained at one point, there is no jury, and Al Gore will be left to adjudicate the trial. Trump's defense broadly rested on three flanks. He denied the accusations that he'd inflate his properties, insisting conversely that he'd undervalued most of them by not including ill-defined millions of dollars implied by his brand and his potential. He claimed that banks and insurance firms had to do their own due diligence, and he repeatedly insisted that there were no victims, so there can have been no crime. This blanket deniability and beliefs in his own imperviousness echoed Trump's first proclamations in office that the Constitution granted him almost absolute powers, or that the phone call with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that earned him his first impeachment of, or his January 6, 2021 speech before the Capitol insurrection were perfect. Crash and burn. Ali Honig reacts to Trump's courtroom strategy. Trump also offers the intriguing glimpse into his mindset as the businessman that makes it easier to understand his fault insistence that he actually won the 2020 election when he clearly lost it. I can look at a building and tell you what they are worth, he said, creating the impression that the true valuation of the property was something he could just pluck out of the air, with little regard for the complex financial instrument that normally add up to the investment true value. The desire to make the reality just what he wanted to be has long defined Trump's political approach, and he seems to adopt a similar tactic in his tactic in looking at the election and deciding who won regardless of the actual evidence about who got the most votes. This question about the question of whether Trump actually believes that what he says will be key to two election interference trials, so one in federal court in Washington and one in Georgia, where prosecutors must show he intended to break the law. Trump insists that he was convinced he won in 2020, despite all evidence to the contrary. And in his virtual reality world, he may believe it, or may at least be able to convince a jury he did. But the most sobering takeaway of Trump's day in court on Monday was that while the law might succeed in enforcing accountability where constitutional and political constraints failed, there is no sign yet that anyone or anything can bring the potential 24th President of the United States under control.